welcome to cartography for spring 2024. I'm Dr. Purdue, and I welcome you to the class, and I'm excited to work with you this semester. A couple things I wanted to go over since this course is in a hybrid format where we meet in person for the lab sections, but we meet or we do all the lecture material and whatnot online. So I wanted to give a chance to go through the syllabus, give everybody a sense of what the course is prior to the lab section. That way when we enter the lab, some students on Tuesday, some students on Thursday, you'll be in a good position to know, what the course entails and what the expectations are and whatnot. So first of all, just a brief word about cartography. Cartography really is what I think the most interesting and the most captivating part of a geospatial curriculum or a geospatial understanding. I mean, I'm biased because I am a cartographer, but I think what cartography does that is unique is that it takes all of those different data-driven and computational and technical components that we work with within the geospatial kind of larger apparatus, and you add elements of design, elements of artistic expression, elements of kind of creative and data-driven informatic theory, and you integrate those into visual products. And within those visual products, you are articulating all those different scientific findings, all those different spatial relations, all those different data distributions, all those different kind of cartographic elements or those geographic elements that we are taking time to map out and to derive value or derive analysis from in the geospatial processes. Cartography is the way to articulate all those outward back towards the public or back towards your audience as a way of communicating and informing. So to me, that's an exciting and it's a interesting place to be because it allows you a certain level of creative freedom. It allows you a certain level of creativity. It allows you a certain level of insight that I think differs from other sorts of geospatial platforms. So with all that being said, I'm excited to go through the labs with you this semester to help you sharpen your skills, to sharpen your cartographic techniques. And at the end, I think you'll see there's quite a transformation between where you start and where you finish in terms of your map design processes. Okay, so going through the different aspects of the course. So as mentioned, the lecture section of the course, this will include the readings, the lectures, discussion forums, quizzes, a couple writing assignments. Those are all housed within the online asynchronous Canvas platform. And so there'll be course material that's released by Sunday night. That includes the lecture material, the readings, prompts, etc., etc. And each week I'll have a weekly memo that articulates like exactly what's due that week and the expectations of those and the different assignments and how those are graded and rubrics and all that stuff. So that will all be released on Sunday, by Sunday, and they'll be due the following Monday. And so that's all asynchronous. I do suggest that you look at the material and read readings or get a sense of what the weekly topic is prior to coming to your lab section. Some of you, lab section 1 will meet on Tuesday from 12 to 5, others on Thursday from 12 to 5. So, my suggestion is prior to that lab, look at the material, the lecture material. You don't necessarily have to do the assignment, but, read the material or take a look at it. So you have a sense of, like, what the broader theoretical or the broader practical things that we'll be working on in lab will be. It just kind of makes a little bit more of a sequential process or a linear process of the relationship between the lecture and the lab materials. Okay. So as mentioned, there's 2 different lab sections. My preference is that you come to the lab section that you're assigned. I understand weekly schedules can be fluid sometimes with work, with health, with obligations, with other material or other course assignments that can kind of bottleneck. So if you need to come to a different lab section one week or need some flexibility within that, let me know. Especially at the beginning of the semester, there tends to be a little bit more kind of adherence to that sectionality, Tuesday, Thursday, and the one you're assigned to. Towards the end of the semester, it can become a little bit more fluid as some students start working primarily online. Some students fluctuate in attendance differently. I don't take lab attendance necessarily. I think it's good practice to come into the lab space to do your work. It's not a requirement. You know, if you feel comfortable doing the labs outside of the designated lab time, and I'll be there to answer questions and support and to give like broad feedback, then you're certainly welcome to do so. You know, that's not what I suggest, but I understand that that's what some students will do, and I am okay with that. Okay, so that is the structure of the lecture and lab materials. Office hours, I have office hours on Tuesday from 10 to 12. These are my general office hours for all my classes and advising and all that stuff. I'm an advisor for the Geospatial Science and Technology minor and for the new major. So if you have any questions about the geospatial program more broadly, advising questions, course questions, etc., you know, definitely I'm available during this time. You can always talk to me during the lab time as well about any of those questions. There's plenty of time within the lab, designated lab time, to chat about various aspects of course or broader geospatial programming and curriculum stuff. And then I also have this lab office hours. So that's in Founders Hall 106, where we have our cartography labs on Monday from 11 to 2. I will be in there as well to have my lab hours. And those are just basically open hours where I'm working on getting some stuff done or working on my own projects, but I'm also there to help you with any issues you're having with your lab assignments. Typically the labs will be due on Monday, so they'll be assigned and then they'll be due the following Monday. So if you're having last minute issues, problems, you know, I'll be in that space during that time to help you with that process. Okay. So course description, y'all can read that. Learning outcomes. You know, the specific learning outcomes that I'm most interested in is understanding how to use the language of map makers, the language of cartography, to understand, evaluate, critique, share, give feedback to, evaluate maps. You know, how can we look at cartographic products and understand the various complexities, the social complexities, the economic complexities, the environmental complexities. You know, all those are embedded within the design of maps. And so how can we look at maps and, by using different cartographic language, learn how to decipher or to read maps in a very effective and critical way. You can read the rest of these learning outcomes as they relate to the geospatial program and institutional goals, etc., etc. This is a zero-cost class. There's no textbook. I'll provide all of the reading materials that you need for the course. Course topics and schedule. So an important note, I'm sure you're aware of this, but if you're not, there is the potentiality for a labor strike on between June 22nd and June 26th. This class will be impacted by that, as I plan to strike as well if needed. So during that time, those dates, I will be unavailable for answering emails, providing any help. Basically, anything will be, I'll be not working on the class in that time if the union goes on strike. So beware of that. It is week 2, so that is disruptive. But the schedule has some built-in contingency for that as well. So I'll look at that right now. Okay, so the schedule is laid out on a weekly basis. You know, we have our week, dates, topic, any readings that I'll assign. Readings can include movies as well. I have a couple movies for us to watch this semester. The lecture activity, this is the activity that's going to be housed on Canvas specifically. And then your lab activity. You'll see here that week 2 is highlighted purple. This is the potential week for labor strike. If that is the case, we can bump everything back. I have this week 5 here as a catch-up week, so we can just kind of move everything back, and we won't miss any material or anything like that. And then if the labor uh, conflict is resolved prior to the strike, then we'll just kind of continue on, and then during this week 5, we can use that to catch up on stuff from this class. We can use that to catch up on stuff from other classes, reset, etc. So, based on the schedule, the labor strike should not be too disruptive to your overall course learning objectives, but it will kind of like segment off it, or could potentially segment off it in a weird way. So there's a contingency built into the schedule, and we'll see what comes of the process. And I'll show you how this is laid out in Canvas as well here momentarily. Like I said, the course structure modality, the course includes weekly in-person meetings for the lab sections, and then the lecture portion is online and asynchronous. I'll provide all of the lecture materials, including lectures, readings, memo, notes, etc. All that stuff will be available by Sunday night of the upcoming week, and then you'll have the week to review that, and then the assignments for that will be due the following Monday. This is a 4-unit course, so you should expect to work approximately 180 hours during the semester, or approximately 12 hours per week. Okay, so the assignments. There's different types of assignments that are in the course, and those have different weights in their grades. So there's a broad attendance and participation category. This is just the active engagement. This is really my kind of running tab of your active engagement in the course. And this includes, the timeliness of your submission of assignments, your participation, and we have a couple different peer review opportunities where we look at each other's maps and provide feedback. So your participation in those aspects, your lab attendance, your submission of assignments, participation in online discussion forums. So lab attendance, like I said, I don't really take like a strict lab attendance kind of in person, but that's just really, a lab attendance means like the regular engagement and the regular progression through the labs. Yeah. So then we also have a number of reading quizzes and reading comprehension essays. So I have a number of materials that I have assigned throughout the semester. Each one of those materials will have a different set of either short answer feedbacks, short quizzes, a couple reflective essays on the readings, etc. Those readings range from technical assessments of different kind of ArcGIS Pro processes, and kind of aspects of built-in functionalities of the software system, to some more kind of theoretical and not esoteric, but more theoretical or more kind of complex assessments of different kind of like geographic and geospatial phenomena that we talk about in class. And I'll provide information for each of these different readings as the time comes. You'll see on the schedule right here that have academic article essays. I have 5 kind of peer review academic journal articles for you to read. You're required to write something about 4 of them. So I'll have it all kind of laid out in Canvas as each one of those come, so you know exactly what's due when, and the extent to which what the expectations are for each of those different essay assignments. Okay, lab assignments. There is 11 lab assignments. Each one is worth 20 points. I dropped the lowest from your score throughout the semester. I really kind of try to structure my lab assignments so that each one is the same grade, that they're weekly, that it really kind of prioritizes and rewards consistency and like continual growth of skill and knowledge throughout the semester. I don't really believe in courses that backload your assignments, in that you have 50% of your grade is in the last 2 weeks of the semester. I try to have it so there's like a very kind of systematic and progressive structure to the course, which I think is what's needed to kind of learn the iterative skills that are necessary to like put together cartographic projects towards the end of the semester. Um, so within that process, it can make it so that if you have a week or two where you kind of have other things going on, or you're sick, or drop the ball for a week or two, it's not going to like tank your grade necessarily. But it's also makes it so that you can't just take the first 6 weeks of the semester off and then catch up later, because then it's kind of all weighted the same throughout the term, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, so it provides. I feel like that structure provides or prioritizes consistency, accountability, and like that slow, progressive accumulation of skills and knowledge, so that by the end of the semester you really have like a firm understanding of like the different cartographic elements that you're trying to incorporate into your projects. And the discussion forums, there's some places on the in the different lecture materials where we'll look at different aspects of cartographic design or different elements, and then have a discussion forum where we'll find examples from the internet space, share, communicate, and then respond to each other in that process as well. And then finally, we have a final project in this course. This final project is a kind of multi-week, either individual or group project, where you design a project, gather all the data, and make a cartographic representation in a large format poster, in which we print out and share and hang in the hallway. So I'll go through the details of that post spring break. If we look back at our schedule, I'll just kind of go through some of the different topics quickly. Week 1, we have our intro. We talk about map layout and design, kind of broad layout and design elements. We have a week on projections just to make sure that we cover projections, and that there's certain projections that are most appropriate for different type of cartographic projects. So we'll discuss that and whatnot. And then we'll talk about base maps, labeling. We have a 2 week on labeling. And base maps is really where I kind of bring in this idea of color theory and stuff like that as well. 2 weeks on labeling, which is probably the most tedious and the most frustrating aspect of the course. So be forewarned that week 6 and 7 is like probably the least fun of all the different labs, but it's kind of a necessary part too, to like being good at labeling is a critical part of making good maps, and probably the most tedious part. Then we move on to different types of data. So we talk about point data, different cartographic techniques for working with point data, different cartographic techniques for working with line data, polygon data. And then we spend a couple weeks talking about terrain and how to map terrain aspects and how to blend digital elevation models together. And it's a complex and it's an interesting process. So this is a 2 week lab, and probably my favorite aspect of cartography is terrain mapping. So we'll discuss that. And then I have a 1 week thing on web cartography, how to use ArcGIS's online platform to make web maps and share those and whatnot. So we'll do that as well a little bit towards the end of the semester. And then the last 3 weeks are really devoted to your final project. So, I feel like the course, as I said, it has kind of a consistent, steady beat to it, and at times in the semester that can feel overwhelming, because it's just like it's just kind of the same cadence every week. It's kind of a heavy workload every week, but then it really tapers off towards the end of the semester. So I feel like when other courses are kind of ramping up and overloading you at the end of the semester, this course kind of tapers down and lands the plane softly, which is nice. So it makes, hopefully with this class, the end of the semester is not stressful for you. That's the goal. I know a lot of students take this class the last semester, especially spring semester, the last semester they're in college, and have a lot of things going on at this time in their life. And so I think with this method, it allows the last 3 weeks, like this class, to be not this thing that's like pushing you over the edge of your stress levels. So that can be somebody else can do that, and my class hopefully is the place where you can like find some comfort and like just spend a couple hours towards the end of the semester, working on your map project in joy and not in stress as with other things. Uh, and a quick note on the final project as well. If you're doing your capstone at the same time, if you're doing other final projects in other classes at the same time, and you want to combine that with the final project in my class, there's definitely a framework to do so, and I can discuss that as I said, as the semester moves on. But just keep in mind that if there is like a larger project you're working on, a capstone project or a research project or something like that, and you want to create a map element of that for your final project for my class, we can definitely do so, and it's encouraged actually. Okay. Yeah. So grades and evaluations. These are the thresholds for grades. Total points is 500. Here's a breakdown of those points. So 52% of the grade is housed within the lab activities. 48% is housed kind of within the lecture materials. Is a combination of labs, final project, those quizzes and discussion forums, the reading essays, and then broadly attendance and participation. So since this course is required for students majoring in the geospatial science and technology major as well as the geospatial science minor, most students are going to need a C- or better grade to count towards major and minor requirements. So keep that in mind. Also, courses counting towards major and minor requirements cannot be taken as a credit or no credit basis unless permission has been approved at the administrative level for that. So keep that in mind as well. So general grading and guidelines, and I'm just about done. Guys, sorry for being a little wordy. I just want to make sure I have all the stuff covered before the course starts. So grading and guidelines, I try to be a fast grader. Some weeks that works better than other weeks, but I try to get feedback back to you as fast as I can so that you don't make the same mistakes over and over on your maps. But so if I see something, I'll try to highlight that quickly in order for you to make those adjustments. That's, while it's certainly possible to work independently and do all the labs without coming to class, or without coming to the lab section, why I highly encourage you to come to lab is to give the opportunity to get that feedback, not just from myself, though I'm happy to look at any part of your map at any time and kind of give you consistent feedback at multiple points of your map. You can say, how does this look? And then you can change something and say, how does this look? And you can go back and forth, and I can even print stuff out for you, so you can look at it and different formats as well. And so that's and you can do that with myself, and you can do that with your peers that sit next to you, and get feedback on both the technical and the aesthetic processes of map making, which I think is important. So that's why I highly encourage you to come to lab. Not only so I can get to know you and get to know your cartographic technique, but so I can also give you feedback that helps you with specifically what type of cartography you're trying to be, right? And that can be, if you're trying to make maps that are highly scientific and technical and have a high level of precision, there's a certain type of aesthetic or a certain type of set of techniques that work best for that. Whereas if you're trying to make a set of maps that are more artistic or more interpretive or more creative in structure, then there's this different type of feedback I would give for that, and that's easier to do in person than by just giving you graded feedback on your maps themselves. So basically what I'm saying is that process, the more that I can be witness to and helpful during the process of you making the maps, that's I think the more beneficial it is to you as a cartographer, as opposed to just evaluating the product that you submit as a grade, which I also try to do, with a thorough and complete set of feedback, both in written and in video format. So sometimes I'll give you feedback on your map that's, list a few things that need correction or tell you a couple things that are good, a couple things that need improvement. Other times I'll take a highlighter and go through your map and make notes and give you a video feedback, personalized video feedback of that particular map. It depends on like the nature of the project. Some projects are more complex than others. Some are more straightforward. So different projects I give different types of feedback to. I try to do it quickly. I'm a little overloaded on my teaching schedule this semester, so my hope is that I'm organized and prompt and stay on top of things, and I'll let you know if I'm starting to fall behind and if feedback is going to get delayed. But I try to give feedback as quickly as I can. Late makeup policy, I try to be flexible within reason and be supportive of the different responsibilities and different obligations that you all have as students. I know those are varied and are can hinder work flows in different ways at different times. And so I try to be supportive and understanding of that. The best thing to do is if you're starting to fall behind, if you're struggling with things, if something's not clicking, or if like something is just like not happening for you for like more than a week, or a period of time where it could start to impact your grade in a negative way, is to come talk to me. Let me know what's going on. Let me know the process of what you're thinking, what you're dealing with, and from that we can make a plan of like how to get back on track or whatnot. So that's the biggest thing, is if you start to fall behind, if it's a one-off, that's one thing. If it's like becomes a continual pattern, or there's some sort of like underlying issue that's preventing you from doing the best work that you can, then come talk to me and we can kind of figure out what that is and address it. As with all the other courses, there's a bunch of syllabus stuff here. There's links to it all. I'm sure you've seen all the stuff before, so it all applies. And then just briefly a statement on my teaching philosophy. I try to be an inclusive and respectful and supportive instructor. I try to understand the student perspective, what you're going through, what you have to negotiate in your life, to be a student, how challenging that is at times. And I try to be supportive of that. My goal is to kind of like transfer my knowledge about cartography to you in a way that makes you like maps as much as I like maps. That's kind of my broader goal. And can help the students at Humboldt, the geospatial students at Humboldt, produce really good maps. We're well renowned nationally as having one of the strongest cartography programs in the country, especially at the undergraduate level. We've had Humboldt undergraduate students that have won national competitions in cartography, competing against graduate students at like huge prestigious universities. And that's something that I am very proud of and take like a lot of pride in general. That we're able to like teach students how to make maps that are like of such a high level that they can stand up against any other student-made map in the country. And I think the process of doing that is through creating inclusive and respectful classrooms where students can really like find what they're trying to find and communicate that and thrive in that environment. And all students can do that. So that's my goal. If there's any thing that I'm kind of falling short of that goal for you individually or as a group, definitely let me know. Come talk to me about that. If there's materials that you think would be helpful to include in the class that I'm not including, definitely let me know about that. And if there's any issues, inside or outside the classroom that I can either address directly or I can provide support for, I definitely encourage you to let me know about those so I can lend wisdom or lend support or address the issue if there's an issue like happening inside the classroom that needs to be addressed. So that's my overall philosophy of teaching. And that is the syllabus. It's posted on Canvas. Let me look at the Canvas site real quick before we get out of here. So on the Canvas site, each week I will have a module that has a weekly memo. That memo will kind of go through uh, what's due, the expectations. Will have links to the lecture material, the readings, etc. So the weekly memo that I'll send out has kind of like, that's like your announcement that has all the different links of all the different stuff you need for that upcoming week. You'll also have your lab assignment, as well as for week 1 we have this discussion forum where you find or you share your favorite map and write a little thing about it, following this example that I made here. So that is how the material is organized on a weekly basis. You can see I have it all laid out for the rest of the semester, but not fully published or anything like that yet. So that's where I will post your material. That'll be on your homepage. And announcements, be sure to make note of announcements. This is where I will announce any sort of changes to classroom schedule, to assignment schedule, to events that are coming up that could be pertinent to you as geospatial students, emergency announcements, etc. So always any communications that I have with the course, I'll put them in announcements here. Grades, you can follow your grades there. Discussion forums will have your discussions, etc., etc. On your syllabus page here, I will also link all the assignments on the syllabus on the weekly schedule that I keep running here. You can download this PDF of the syllabus here on the syllabus tab. So that should be pretty straightforward. Canvas site. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Your favorite map discussion forum assignment, where you write a short little thing, you share a map that you like, tell us why you like it, and then respond to 2 of your classmates' maps about what you like about what they like about it, basically. That will be published here coming up when course starts. We'll be due on the 22nd, and then we'll just get rolling. And then I'm excited to get the process of the course started. It's always my favorite course to teach. I teach it every semester, and I'm excited to teach it for the 16th time coming up. So 15th time. So can't wait to meet everybody on Tuesday and Thursday. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. All right, have a good rest of your weekend.